Video is about a subject that was discussed on my Facebook, and it kind of went into the direction of discussing um, mental illness and um, how it is present even in people who are wealthy. And a particular actor was brought up on my Facebook, and someone put a post and saying, basically, how can someone that has everything kill themselves? Basically, rich people. And people came in the post and were talking about um, how money can't buy you happiness, and um, uh, about bipolar probably being present in mental illnesses. But I'm going to express my opinion and how I see it. I question the existence of some mental illnesses. Um, One of the mental illnesses that I question, which was discussed on my Facebook in reference to a particular actor um, killing himself, saying that he was possibly, basically saying he could have been bipolar or something. Um, Here's my opinion. I question the existence of bipolar. Um, I know many people who claim to have bipolar, who's claimed to be diagnosed with it. I've seen them in the midst of what is said to be bipolar, but I'm beginning to believe that maybe it's an imaginary mental illness that um, can be used as a crutch for many people. There's so many people running and getting disability for it. Um, it's gotten to the point where people can just say life is hard, so I'm having a hard time with life. I can't manage my moods and emotions with the experience of life, so maybe I'm bipolar. Um, I believe that when someone can't handle uh, life experiences, the ups and downs, when they start being happy one moment, sad the next, with what they're going through, I believe sometimes that's just life. That's just how you're supposed to feel. If you're going through sad times, you're supposed to feel sad. If you're going through happy times, you're supposed to feel happy. I noticed that people that I've met who claim to be bipolar, who's diagnosed and medicated for it, when times are hard, they're down. Um, but that's like, oh, bipolar? No, that's not bipolar. I don't believe that you can really tell who's bipolar and who's not. Um, Many people can say it's the degree of the emotion that's felt during the experience. But how can you say that when people feel different things with their emotions? Everybody's different. If we all felt the same degree of emotion in the same experience, we would all be robots. Um, Now, if a particular person has problems managing their emotions and moods and reactions to their different experiences in life, then I think they just primarily need some good old-fashioned counseling. Probably some behavior management, behavior modification through counseling. It doesn't necessarily mean they need to be medicated. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have a mental illness. They're just having some trouble at that moment, at that point in their life, coping. Um, this is from someone who lost children. I lost my stepfather. I'm about to lose my biological dad. I've lost my home. I've lost so much stuff, career, so much stuff. And I remember being sad during them times, and happy during things that were going good during them times. But when I did go to that dark place where I got sad and I felt like I was going to crack, I didn't say maybe maybe I'm having a mental illness going on. Um, I didn't feel like I got a mental illness going on. And yes, a lot of people who are going through stuff emotionally, they may not be aware that a mental illness is developing. However, I personally believe that it's very hard to tell who's bipolar and who's not if you're going to even acknowledge bipolar. Now, yes, maybe you can just say it exists in children. Um, but the old people would say they're not bipolar, they just need some old fashioned discipline. Or they just need counseling. They just need someone to talk to. Or something to reroute their mind, get their mind off what they're going through. What gets me is when people say that someone is bipolar because their mood changes and everything with what they're going through. Um, if it really existed, why aren't they unhappy when there's happy times? Now, if that was going on, I would say, well, maybe bipolar does exist because this person is sitting there unhappy and crying when something happy's happening to them. But if they're crying and everything when something sad is happening to them, shouldn't that be expected? And if they're crying a whole lot, maybe they feel more strongly about what's happening to them than you would have felt if it happened to you. Now, on this post on Facebook, someone was saying mental illness about why some celebrities kill themselves. Um, my thing is this: I often wonder why is this mental illness, these mental illnesses come about soon as they start to lose things, just like poor people or just like middle class people do. Soon as their career is not bringing in millions, soon as their career isn't bringing them a bunch of cars and a bunch of different women, and they're having difficulty in their marriage, like many Americans. They lose their children, like just like poor middle class people do. When life hits them, just like everyday people who don't have a lot of money, now they have a mental illness. I don't understand why that's preserved so much all the time, preserved for them. But when someone who's middle class or poor, or who's not as rich or wealthy, or just financially semi-financially secure like me, when someone like me loses everything and we get sad, no one says we're mentally ill. People say we brush it off. We should just brush it off. That's life. We're told that's life. We should just brush it off. And there's no one giving us a cop out, a way out of it, and saying, you know what, you have a mental illness. I feel so bad for you. No one is sympathizing and just immediately saying it's an onset of mental illness that's making us react the way we are to our losses. But wealthy people lose things, and as soon as they start taking a bunch of drugs and everything, people say, oh, that's so sad that they died of an overdose, accidental overdose. They immediately call it an accidental overdose. They can't imagine them ever really killing themselves. Oh, that's sad they committed suicide. Life must have been hard for them. Money can't buy you love. There's lots of people out there that will argue that. Okay? Why don't rich people be friends with other rich people? Then they don't have to worry about being without love, being without friends. Rich people had families they had before they were rich. I'm sure some of them did. So I don't understand why people are so quick to dismiss breakdowns of successful people. So quick to just say, give them an excuse, mental illness, rather than saying they just couldn't handle it. And perhaps their narcissism is their ego, their narcissism was so challenged that's where the breakdown came from. A lot of people with a lot of money tend to, and people that were spoiled and people that always had a lot of attention growing up often have narcissistic personality disorder. And in moments when they're not the center of the universe, they're not the center of the world, they're not on stage, all the attention's not on them, that's when they start to, start to suffer emotionally and start to get sad or get upset or angry that all the attention's not on them or that things aren't going their way. To me, it just sounds like a person that's spoiled, even bratty maybe. But you can't just automatically run and say, well, that's bipolar. I'm not saying bipolar doesn't exist. What I'm saying is I question it. I question the existence of it in most cases. I believe there's a small number of people who are actually bipolar. And I'm saying that I'm kind of disgusted that often it's reserved for people who basically have always had everything they wanted, always had a lot of attention. As soon as they lose a lot of that, that's reserved to their reaction to it. They're called bipolar because of their reaction to it. I know many people who are considered bipolar. People have told them bipolar. And these people always had it all their whole life. And as soon as they live a life like I'm living, where they have to work for it, where they're not spoiled, where everything's not handed to them, or they have to join the group of people like me who have to deal with losses just as much, and there's nothing they can do about it, no money can change it, then here comes their breakdown. And I don't think it's fair that they're giving a justifiable excuse for their behavior, their reaction to it. And we're just told, as I said, that, oh, we can't cope, that it's just life and we need to deal with it. People need to be like that with wealthy people as well. Okay. That's just what I have to say. I question the existence of some mental illnesses. I think that some people are using them as just crutches to get their little disability checks. And I saw something on Facebook where a guy said some guy just walked off a job. He was making, I guess, $600,000 a year, and he just walked off a job, six-figure job or whatever, and he just walked off because he was bipolar, because he couldn't take it anymore. All the bipolar people that I've met personally, it seems every single one that I've met, all demonstrated seem to have problems with authority. Often come off, how can I say, controlling, don't like to be told what to do, and even arrogant and narcissistic. My thing is, I'm not saying all bipolar people are, but many I have met, every single one I've met have had those traits. So this guy on my Facebook, he said this guy just walked off the job because he can't take it. What couldn't he take? I mean, there's lots of Americans going to job every day. Unless he was being literally abused, emotionally abused so much that he couldn't take it. Yes, I can see him walking off. But just walking off because the job is hard. It's a hard, job on his health, as far as getting tired or whatever. Instead of not resigning, instead of just walking up, he just walked off. My problem with that is this. To me, it sounds like someone who just doesn't want to work. Someone who just feel like they're too good for hard work. I wouldn't necessarily say that's bipolar. I think that before someone is diagnosed with bipolar, I think some deep investigation, deep research in that person, into that person. I mean, several sessions of counseling and meeting with this person should be done before saying bipolar. Um, that's what I have to say on it. Feel free to leave your opinions. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Please don't take this personal. It's just I question the existence, as I said, in many cases, on whether they're really bipolar. Thanks for watching.